one story in particular that I wanted to show you tonight was about a young man in our youth group that started coming. He was not raised in a Christian home. He was in a blended family. His dad was an alcoholic. There was a lot of verbal and some mental abuse that was going on in his home. And this young man was invited to River Oak Grace youth group, and one of the first people he met was another man, a volunteer youth worker in the ministry named Clark. And Clark just connected with this young man. It was one of those neat things to watch happen, where Clark basically just really sought him out. Whenever it was Sunday morning, Clark would look for this young man and just make sure you got a chance to at least say hi, put a handshake on him, ask how you're doing. Wednesday night was youth group, and Clark would come up and find that young man and sit with him and visit with him and ask him how the week was. He would pray for him. He would lead his small group time or Bible discussion time in that small group, and you really watched Clark and this young man start to connect. And it was a neat connection because this young man started turning to Clark. When he was having a hard time, he would call Clark and ask for help or need prayer or for confusion. And he saw Clark. He didn't get to see him a lot, but he started pouring his life into this young man. And so whether it was an occasional phone call, whether it was coming to, I think he went to one of the young man's swim meets. He would pick him up for lunch. He would take him for a shake. He would just start to connect with this young man in such a way that this young man started feeling invested into. And it was really neat to watch those dynamics take place. Now, some of the things that Clark did that I think was neat to watch a youth worker do is he started just kind of making a beeline for this young man all these different opportunities. He made sure he was going to certain youth events. He would try to get that young man to ride in his car. Clark had a red Jeep Wrangler without the top. And so it was kind of the popular ride for all the kids. And so he let this young man ride shotgun, and when they went on youth trips, he liked to get him in there and his friends in there. In fact, Clark even let that young man drive his Jeep in a very large parking lot, something that guy, young man's father would never let him do. And so this relationship was just really deepening. And they would have long and short conversations about God and life. And basically, Clark spiritually adopted this young man. He invested in him. He poured into him. He encouraged him. He prayed for him. And the mother of this young man learned to appreciate Clark and just see how in a season of life where this young man wasn't listening to her, this young man wasn't listening to his dad, Clark had a voice. And because she got a chance to connect with Clark, she trusted Clark in what he was telling her son. And I don't know where Clark is nowadays. I haven't heard from him in years. But Clark Allswade has no idea that his small investment into that young man's life changed hundreds of lives in Oakdale. And little does Clark Allswade know that because of his investment, that young man went into full-time ministry, and Clark Allswade has no idea that the lives in Ohio that would be affected by his investment. Because that young man was me. And Clark was this guy that just took me under his wing. And he just brought me into a place, and he filled a void in my life that was crucial in that time. And so we're going to talk a little bit tonight about character development, some other things. And I just want to kind of elevate the role of the youth worker in this moment, because it's such a necessary component to raising a teenager. Because you guys all know more than I do, because my kids aren't teens yet, but I've seen it enough that just during those teenage years, those adolescent years, kids start to really question parents, become very deaf to parents, critical of parents, even great kids. And a mutual person that they both can trust is such an awesome component to developing character in the life of that young man and young woman. And so tonight, as we kind of talk about the youth workers, these youth workers stand up and introduce themselves and share their hearts, realize that there's a passion, there's a calling that's happened in these people's lives to bring them to this front. And we need more men and women reaching out to youth. I don't know about you, I would not want to be a junior high or a high schooler nowadays. I mean, I look back at how difficult it was when I was that age. Man, I think the challenges now are even scarier for junior high and high school kids. So I'm really grateful that we have a good student ministry here, and I'm really glad that we have the volunteers that we have. We need more, we always will. But I just wanted to tell you about Clark. Because of his investment, I'm changed. And because I'm changed, Clark is now taking ownership of whoever God touches through my life and the lives of those who are touched by me. And I say that humbly because I I don't deserve to be touching anybody's life. Talk about God's grace and mercy. So I just want to kind of talk about that a little bit, and then I want to hand it back to Rick here, and I'll get a chance to engage you guys here in a little bit again. So let's go.
Thanks, Jeff.